Hi, in today's video we'll be looking at how to choose a laptop for your child entering high school, junior high, 12 to 13 year olds, or going into college/university. Keep watching and I'll give you some recommendations, plus at the end of the video I'll show you some ways you can save money and get your tech for less. Hi, I'm Dave the Tech Dad. So your child is entering high school or junior high or going off to college/university, and you need a decent laptop for them to do their studies. Today I'll be taking you through what kind of specifications to look for in a laptop and give you some recommendations. This video is filmed in October 2021. The pandemic is still running amok, and the result of that and a few other things, computer parts, especially the chips inside them, are in short supply around the world. If your child needs a laptop for the start of the following year, use the information you learn here, but make sure you make a purchase ASAP, as laptops are in short supply and have long order times. It's not unusual for you to purchase a laptop today and wait 6 to 12 weeks for it to arrive. Purchase one today at the price and specifications that you want, instead of leaving it too late and either missing out or having to buy the wrong laptop or pay too much. This will basically be about Windows laptops, as that's what I have more experience in. If you're after an Apple Mac laptop, the new M1 MacBook Air laptops are good machines, but I find they're still a little bit expensive and cheaper models have limited memory and disk space and you can't upgrade them. But if you're after a Mac, M1 MacBook Air. I'm aiming this guide for kids going to what we call high school in Australia and junior high in the US. If you're going into university, TAFE or college, then these will also be good all-round machines. I'll break down my recommendations into the following dollar ranges. Number 1, $500 to $750 Australian, or $380 to $570 US dollars, $751 to $1,000, 3 $1,000 to $1,500, and 4 $1,500 plus. Now there are laptops available from as low as around $350. Now if that's all you can afford and it's either a $350 laptop or nothing, then go for it. No judgment, totally understand. What I will say is that anything that's below $500 is cutting so many corners to get to that price that it won't be a great experience. The first thing to check is with your school. They may have certain requirements, recommendations. Some have deals with laptop vendors or stores where you can get a discount on certain models. In New South Wales, Australia, where I am, at this time there are no formal requirements for laptops for high school, only these basic guidelines. 6 hours plus battery life, or 8 hours is better. Weight less than 1.6 kilos, dual band Wi-Fi, and a minimum 13.3 inch screen. One tip, if your son or daughter doesn't like the look of the laptop you end up buying, you can make it look better and protect it a bit with a skin. Try something like skin wraps or Decal Girl. I'll put the links up on the screen in the notes. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. So to help get an understanding of what your child needs and what they don't need, then let's begin with some basic specs, what you need to pay attention to. Number 1, laptop type. Laptops come in two basic types. Regular clamshell that just go open and closed. And now they also come in 2-in-1 configurations that flip all the way over. 2-in-1s can do some extra tricks and they can be useful. They fold over themselves, they've got touch screens. You can write and draw on it with a pen. Both work well. 2-in-1s can be a bit more expensive. For the same specs, and will usually have slightly worse battery life. The touchscreen takes a bit more battery. So if you don't need the extra things that the 2-in-1 does, get the clamshell. Number 2, CPU. This is the brains of the computer and does most of the heavy lifting. They consist of a number of cores. Think of cores like a grocery store checkouts. Imagine it's closing time and there are 100 people in the store waiting to pay. If you have 2 checkouts open, i.e. 2 cores, then it will take a while to get through all the shoppers. But if you had 4 checkouts or 4 cores, or 8 checkouts open and 8 cores, then you can get through the shoppers quicker. 2 cores are okay for basic things like email, Word and Excel and browsing the internet. But if you want to do more than that and have a better experience, generally 4 or more cores are better. So 2 cores, good for basics like email, internet browsing. 4 cores, good all-round tasks, and they're reasonably priced. 6+ cores, good if you want to do more intensive things like video editing and a little bit of a performance boost. Alright, number 3 we're looking at is RAM or memory. When you open a program or an app on a computer, it needs somewhere to do its thing. This is RAM or memory. Some programs only need a little, while others need a lot. You need to also remember that Microsoft Windows needs a decent chunk just to run before you open any programs. Note, a lot of the thinner and lighter laptops these days solder their RAM inside the computer, so you can't add or replace it. If the laptop you choose only has soldered RAM, then consider getting more, as you won't be able to add it to it later. For example, Lenovo only charge around $95 to go from 8GB to 16GB. So looking at some RAM levels, so 4GB. Avoid this if possible. The laptop will run, but you'll hate the experience. You'll start to get an indent in your head from banging it on the desk. Try to avoid if you can. 8GB, currently what most middle-priced laptops come with. It will work okay for most everyday needs, but anything more demanding it will start to struggle. If you get 8GB, see if you can get a laptop that has the ability to expand it later, or opt for 16GB now. 16GB. If you're doing anything like video editing, running a few programs at once, then get something with 16GB, or make sure you get an 8GB that you can add 8GB later. The SSD or drive. This is where you store all your data. Any photos, videos, Word documents, etc., plus Microsoft Windows and any applications you install. Generally, the bigger the better, depending on how much stuff you have. You can always supplement this with an external hard drive, but it's nice if you don't have to hang a drive off your laptop all the time. If you're okay with a screwdriver, some laptops allow you to replace your drive, so if you get a 256GB drive today, you could replace it with a 1 or a 2TB drive down the track. So what to look for in drive? A. If the storage is described as eMMC, then avoid it if you can. It's generally small, slow. So up to 64GB. These are really small, avoid it if you can. Windows will take around 30GB of that, leaving with almost nothing left. 128GB drives, if you're on a budget, still usable, but it's very small. 256, I would suggest this as a bare minimum. This gives you extra space for files and also gives you a little room to grow. 512GB, this is a really ideal starting point if you can afford it. 1TB plus, these are very nice, but they're still very expensive at the moment, and you probably don't need it. Screen size. Screen size is a bit personal, and it will also affect the laptop size and weight. Some like the smallest screen possible, so they can get a tiny, light laptop, but others might prefer something bigger. Generally, I would stick between a 13.3-inch and a 14-inch screens for something that's usable, and still keeping the laptop size quite thin and light. 15.6-inch screens are an option, but check the weight. Some are reasonable, but others can be well over 2 kilos, which would make it quite heavy lugging around school in your backpack all day. Right, number 6, we're talking about screen type. A good screen is very important. They'll be looking at the screen for long periods of time, so try and get a decent screen. The two major display types are TFN and IPS/VA. TFN, they tend to be only on the really cheap laptops these days. Pretty much avoid at all cost, and get an IPS/VA if you can. TFN, if you look at the screen straight on, it's okay, but if you look to the side, it all looks washed out and they're just awful. IPS or VA, if you can, they're preferred, much better quality screens, but again, you can get great ones and you can get just good ones. So have a look at some reviews if you're not sure. You can get touchscreens and non-touchscreens. All the 2-in-1 laptops come with touchscreens. It will add to the price of a clamshell laptop, so work out whether you need it. If you're not sure, you probably don't need it. Okay, number 7, graphics card, GPU or iGPU. The graphics card is an extra processor that's used to display what's on the screen and help with complex graphics like in games and processing photos and videos. Sometimes it's built in the CPU and sometimes it's separate. Even the base ones are okay for email, Word, browsing the internet. Where you would want a better one would be is if you're looking to play some games on the laptop or to leverage things like video editing, photo editing, other things that take advantage of it. These days, the AMD 4000 and 5000 CPUs and the new Intel 11th generation CPUs, the inbuilt GPU is quite decent and capable of running a lot of games okay. So if you're looking at a $500 laptop to play games on it though, it's only going to play basic games. You need to get a better processor or a better GPU. Number 8, battery life. Most schools suggest getting a laptop with enough battery life so they can get through a school day without being recharged. So generally, the more hours the better. Note, a lot of manufacturers are a bit loose on how they test the battery life. If you find a laptop you like, Google for a review or two and see what reviewers are actually getting. So 6 to 8 hours minimum is suggested. Rapid recharge is a bonus. Like in a lot of mobile phones now, this allows you to charge the battery more quickly. For example, if your child forgot to put the laptop on the charger overnight and needs it for school, stick it on the charger for 30 minutes for a completely flat battery, and you'll probably get 60 to 80% for a full battery ready for school. Very handy. Warranty. Most laptops come with a 1-year return to base warranty, which means if something goes wrong in the first year, you're covered, but you have to send it back to their depot, wait for it to be repaired, and then send it back to you. A better option, which most of the big manufacturers like Lenovo and Dell offer, is, for an extra fee, on-site warranty. Normally it will extend your warranty to between 2 to 5 years, and if you have a problem with your laptop, they will send someone out to your house, work, school, etc., wherever you want. I've used this before and it's worth the extra money. It might be as little as $70 to get an extra year of warranty and have both years as on-site warranty. It's especially useful if you have a defect with the laptop and it needs fixing, but you can still use it okay. Instead of losing access to the laptop for maybe a week or two, your only downtime is a few hours while the tech fixes it. Well worth the money. Please think about it. So what does that all give us? Hopefully a nice, well-rounded laptop that does what your child needs it to do within your budget. Let's have a look at the $4 amount categories I suggested earlier and some suggested models. At the time of filming this video, I'm an affiliate of Lenovo, so if you click on one of my links and purchase from them, then I will receive a small incentive that will help me continue to make future videos on this channel. In normal times, if you plan ahead, I would say work out what you want, wait for sales, as they can have significant discounts. I know Lenovo especially has lots of sales, but while laptops are in short supply, if you're happy with the price, I think, and you need it short term, buy it. So I'll put some examples up on the screen and in the notes below. Okay, for category 1, $500 to $750. This will generally give you a 2-core CPU, 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 to 256 gigabyte drives, a TN or possibly an IPS screen, and a basic inbuilt GPU. And I'll put some examples up. I would not recommend these, but if your budget can't stretch any further, as I said before, no judgment, just buy it. But there's better options out there. Okay, in the second section, $751 to $1,000, this will generally give you a 4 to 6 core CPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, a 256 gigabyte drive, mostly an IPS screen or occasionally TN, and a CPU with basic to a decent inbuilt GPU. And I'll put some examples up on the screen and in the notes. Third section, $1,000 to $1,500. This will generally give you a 4 to 8 core CPU, 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 512 gig drive, an IPS screen, a CPU with a decent inbuilt GPU or a low-end separate GPU. And I'll put some up on the screen and in the notes below some examples. So this is the category. Actually, I've just bought my daughter a computer for high school next year. So we bought her the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim 5 Pro Gen 6 14-inch AMD. So we upgraded to 16 gigabytes of RAM and an Nvidia 450 MX GPU, and it is really, really nice. So if your budget is not too tight, where should you start? I would start recommending around $800 to around $1,300. That would get you a very nice all-round laptop. If you're spending a lot less than $800, it will still work, but what you're getting with a laptop is a lot of compromises that, unless it's extremely basic usage, you'll probably get frustrated. But as I said earlier, if that's all you can afford, go for it. Just be aware of what you're buying and the limitations. Okay, now here's the bonus I mentioned earlier. There are many ways to buy a laptop. Stores like JB Hi-Fi, Officeworks in Australia, or even Amazon. You can buy from specialty computer stores like Umart, PC Case, Gear, etc. in Australia, or you could buy online directly from likes of Lenovo, Dell and HP. But there are other ways you can save money. Now in the current climate of shortages, some of these options might have little or no stock, but have a look just in case. So number 1 is education stores. Some of the companies give discounts to students. Some only give discounts to university, or vocational institutions, but others also allow primary and high school students to get discounts. Check out some of these links below for Australia or Google them for your country. Now, Lenovo in Australia does do it. Apple is only university only, I believe. Another way is to check with your school. Some do deals for students, so check with the high school or university and you might be able to get a discount. Number 3, refurb or warehouse clearance. Here manufacturers put up excess stock, refurbished models, or ones they might have a slight damage, just like a scratch or two. Just be aware in this time of shortages, there may be little to no stock on these sites. Plus you can't order anything, it's just whatever there is currently have in stock. Just check the warranty. It's usually the same as a new, but just double check. And it might be something you just have to keep going back and back and back to see if you can find something. Number 4, there are some that do a cashback scheme, i.e. a percentage of the cost varies, so check out a few sites. As well as being Dave the Tech Dad, I'm also Dave the Discount Dad. So use my code below for cash rewards at davethediscountdad.com and search for computers. I recently purchased a laptop for my daughter from Lenovo using the cashback site, and I've got $50.86 coming my way in a few months. So I hope that has helped give you a bit of grounding in laptop features and what to look out for and what you're likely to get for your hard-earned money. I'm Dave the Tech Dad, and I'll see you in the next video.